The iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro have serious camera upgrades. What the hell is Fusion, OpenGate and quad pixels? And why does a 48 megapixel camera only give you 24 megapixel photos? Apple's not really explaining this in plain English, but I will, just for clarity and because you don't deserve a marketing word salad. Let's go. Yes, these cameras have 48 megapixel sensors, but by default, you don't get 48 megapixel photos. You get 24. It's like ordering a pint of Guinness and they only give you half a glass. Technically it's still Guinness, but screw you. But what the hell is a megapixel? 1 megapixel is 1 million tiny little dots that make up your image. 48 megapixels is 48. That's right, isn't it? 48 million dots. That's a lot of dots. Here's the trick. Those 48 million dots are tiny. And tiny dots absolutely suck at grabbing light. So Apple groups them together in fours. A quad pixel. I can let go of my hand now. And because 4 into 1 equals math, 48 megapixels equals 124 megapixel photo. You can shoot full 48 megapixels, but you gotta turn it on. You gotta turn on ProRes RAW. It's simple enough to turn on, and maybe you gotta dive deeper into the settings to keep it on. Thing is, those files are huge. We're talking 40, 50, 60, 80 megs per photo. That's gonna make your storage absolutely melt if you're shooting RAW photos all of the time. But in return, you get more detail. You get more dynamic range, which is how bright or dark the image actually gets. And you get a ton more editing flexibility. On the iPhone 17 Pro and on the iPhone 17 Pro Max, each rear camera has its own 48 megapixel sensor. The wide, the ultra wide and the telephoto. But only one of them has changed this year and Apple really wants you to notice. The telephoto sensor, or the one that allows you to get really, really close to the subject, is around 56% larger than ever before. In a nutshell, the bigger sensor equals bigger buckets for light. And more light means less noise, more detail, and potentially some extra creamy bokeh. You know, the background blur thing. That. But it also uses Apple's tetraprism, which sounds like a bad transformer, to bend light through the phone. What the fuck does that mean? Basically, that gives you a 100mm zoom at f2.8. The 2.8 thing is kind of how creamier and how blurrier the background is. And a 200mm optical quality mode that spits out a 12 megapixel file. I know that's just melting my own brain even telling you about it. But it's basically Apple saying it's cropped, which means they just take part of the image, but it looks absolutely legit, which all the examples show it does look legit. And to stop your long zoom shots look like they were shot in a pogo stick, because this thing is all over the place, Apple have put in some new buzzwords in here as well, or they've actually added it into the telephoto lens. Because that now gets 3D sensor shift stabilization and hybrid focus pixels. Gotta say, they're pretty damn good buzzwords, but in other words, steadier shots, faster focus, and less swear words. Apple says the new iPhone 17 Pros will give you the equivalent of roughly 8 lenses, which makes it sound like a frickin' Swiss Army knife. Basically, binoculars in your pocket. But don't confuse optical quality zoom with digital zoom, because digital zoom is just cropping in and it looks like absolute dog shit. You might have heard about the new selfie camera on the iPhone 17 Pro. Wow, it's great. It's got a square sensor. Now you're going, what the fuck is a square sensor? Plus it's 18 megapixels, 18 million dots in a square sensor. Why square? Well, now it can reframe you whether you're taking a photograph vertically or horizontally, and they've got some jiggery pokery in there, which means it can do it automatically as well. Genuinely, this is a real good idea. And now the big jargon buffet, because there's some serious upgrades to video on the iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17 Pro Max. You've got dual capture, which will allow you to shoot with 2 cameras at the same time, your selfie camera and one of the front-facing cameras, which is great because after all, the one thing that I always want to get from my friends, if I had any, would be to watch a video of them filming something and then them showing me their reaction, like a cow walking across the field. That's a nice feature to have. And then you've got something that all the cinematic nerds are screaming about. It's a real ProRes feature. It's called ProRes RAW. And then you get Log 2 as well. ProRes RAW will give you astronomically big file sizes. We're talking hard drive file sizes as opposed to SD card file sizes. Or maybe you're rich and you've got the 2TB version of the iPhone 17 Pro. Either way, this will give you maximum flexibility if you're editing your videos for bright and dark parts, all of that kind of stuff, the most detail. It is absolutely the kit and caboodle. But most people will probably not be using it for their TikToks. And then this other Pro feature, it's Genlock with timecode. Absolutely nuts. If you're syncing a whole bunch of iPhone cameras together in the edit, you can edit with the Genlock and the timecode thing and it'll put them all together really easily. No more dragging stuff around. That's great if you're shooting something for Netflix, or maybe your surname is Spielberg. But for most folks, it's good to know that it's there. And then there's this big software soup. We're talking buzzwords galore. Smart HDR5. HDR stands for High Dynamic Range. What this does in the iPhone 17 is effectively it takes a whole bunch of images at the same time of the bright parts, of the dark parts, and the in-between parts. And then it merges them all together to give you a pretty amazing looking image. Deep Fusion sounds like something that, yeah, let's not even get into that. But what Deep Fusion in the new iPhone 17 Pros and the iPhone 17 is, it works in medium light. It compares every pixel the phone has taken, and then it keeps the sharpest ones. Basically, it's like sharpening a photo in Photoshop, but it does it so fast, you can't even say sharpen tool and it's done. It's instant, but that's what Deep Fusion is. And then, this one, Photonic Engine. This thing is so well named. I mean, I wish I had a photonic engine in my car, don't you? But what this is basically on the iPhone 17, the iPhone 17 Pro, Photonic Engine. This is Apple's timing trick. It blends frames earlier in the pipeline before compression, so you get cleaner colors, less noise, better skin tones. It's a win, and it sounds super cool. Photonic Engine. Here's the truth. The iPhone 17 Pro and the iPhone 17, the cameras are absolutely phenomenal. It is best in class. It is the best cameras that we've ever made. But in essence, they really are. If you're pre-ordering the iPhone 17 Pro, then keep in mind that if you're happy with just taking a shot, the 24 megapixel stuff is for you. If you like digging in and editing, the 48 megapixel stuff is also for you. And if you're shooting video, that old Pro RAW is absolutely going to eat your storage space, but your videos will look the shit. I'm going to be pre-ordering one on Friday, so we're going to be checking in a little bit more around video and photo on the iPhone 17 and the iPhone 17 Pro. If you think that's your jam, make sure you hit subscribe, and I'll see you on the next vid. I hadn't, anyway, yeah.